streaming. Audio check, check, check. Sounds good. Waiting for the live stream to pick up.
Are you starting from scratch up here?
I'm starting from scratch up here too, yes. Here we go. So, starting from scratch, basically I want you to know that I've given you the media in your Google Drive, but also if you go to the Hall R drive and you find technology and engineering, which is going to be down here, and you go into the game and web folder, you'll find the Construct 2 media bundle. If we go into sprites, jungle platformer, here's all those files locally as we may need them. So to get started, we're going to create a new project. I'm just going to leave it as a new project. I can leave it as landscape. I'm going to adjust the size afterwards. It doesn't need to be SD. It doesn't need to be 4K. I'm just going to leave it here. I will give it a name of Jungle Platformer. And I'll say period 4, 2022. I'll say 21-22. That's a better thing. All right. So I will hit create on this. Everything is pretty much the same as what I'm normally expecting right now. The first thing that they're going to have us do via the guide is go and adjust the size of this viewport and the layout. So the viewport I can adjust right here. I'll actually leave the viewport to 854 by 480 for right now. If I click anywhere in this gray space, okay? So when I say gray space, here's what I mean. I mean click anywhere that's not on the layout there. Click anywhere in this gray space. You will come back out to this larger properties menu, and you can see property size 4,000, comma. Actually, it's like it knows I already have done this tutorial on this. So here we go, 4,000 by 2,048. That's the size that we want to increase our background to. So our background is going to get a lot larger. I may go and adjust the actual layout size down here from this project properties afterwards because the 854 by 480 may be too small. Maybe I'll make it like double that size, but I don't know for right now. So the first thing that they have us do is they have us insert a background image by double clicking anywhere on the layout and inserting an object. However, we're not going to insert a sprite for a background. We're going to use a feature in Construct 2 that we haven't seen before for custom animation called tiled background. That way we can take an image and just continually stretch it left and right and have it repeat itself and stitch itself together. So we'll create a tiled background. We'll hit insert. We'll click anywhere to insert it. And then it's got this default size that it wants it to be, 250 by 250. From here, we're going to go and browse to that background image by using this open folder button. And I don't know if I can open from, yeah, I don't think I can open from Google Drive. So here's what you would do. You would go to the media folder, find the background image here, and download it to your computer. So if I hit download, it's going to go to my downloads folder, but it's going to go to your H drive. Andrew.
If you just download the Jungle Platformer media folder like as a whole.
Yeah, you don't have to go and get things individually. I'm going to go get things individually because I want people to know where it's going to. So that way I can have it here, because once I get it, it's just going to get imported into the .c3p file. But that's a good point. You could take this whole folder and download it. It's a big folder, though. There's a lot of files in here. All right. So I'm going to click Open Now, and I know there's the background that I was just looking for in my Downloads folder. Yours is going to be in your H drive, because that's where your things are going to download to. So I'm going to find background. I'm going to hit Open. I'm going to zoom out, and it automatically resizes it to the 1024 by 2048 size that it actually is. I'm going to hit OK. And here's the cool new thing about this image. Take a look. I don't actually have to do a lot of work to get this image to repeat itself now. I mean, obviously, if I stretch beyond the vertical boundaries of this, I'm out of luck, and I won't actually get to see the thing repeat And because I don't want to find where this seam is right here, this purple seam that I'm running across, I'm just going to go through and position this to 0, 0, or 0x0. And I'm going to set the size to 4000, 2048. Hit enter, and now it's perfectly sized for the background that we have laid out. Bless you. So we've resized its position, size, and position here for this background sprite. So here's the size, 4000 by 2048, position 0, 0. Because I don't want to accidentally move this background, I'm going to rename this layer 0 background. Then I'm going to lock it, and then I'm going to add a new layer above. So that way I won't accidentally move this background by clicking on something in the new layer 0 that I just made. Okay, so I control scroll wheel down to zoom out to be able to see everything, and we'll be able to work through this. So we added the layer, we locked the background layer, and I think they have us rename this one main for right now, so we'll call it main. I'm sticking with all lowercase for my names. They have capital in the actual tutorial, but I'm going to stick with lowercase. Okay, now here comes the coolest part. This is the segue between what we were doing in Piskel to what we're now going to see Construct do for us. Because in Piskel, it was pretty impressive. It was all right when I made those spikes and had to come through and rotate. But this is where it's going to get really cool. So I know that I'm going to need to add in the tiles PNG. So I'm going to go to tiles. Here's my tiles.png. I'm going to right click and download. My tiles.png image is there. I'm going to double click. I'm on the main layer. Double click to add a new piece. And this piece I'm going to add is a tile map. So we haven't added a tile map. We've always added sprites. I'm going to add a tile map now. Click anywhere to place it. And it comes up with its default one. But I think what we're going to do is go to open and tiles and open. Now, this one isn't slicing up. I don't think it's actually tile map I'm supposed to do. I think I'm just going to import a sprite. Yeah, tile map is something different. So don't follow that instruction. Scrub this from the video. Note to self. So I'm just going to go insert a sprite this time because I'm going to get rid of this tile map. That wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So tile map is gone. Tile background is here. I'm on main. I'm going to insert a sprite. And then from here, I'm going to open up. No, I don't even want to open it from here. I want to right click down in this bottom space. So a lot of times people are clicking, and when I've been giving instructions, this is frame number 0. If you click anywhere on frame number 0, you won't get the right options to come up. You have to right click anywhere in this big animation frame space that's not frame number 0. Right click anywhere inside this big red box that I've just drawn. When you right click on it, you get options to add a frame, duplicate a frame, reverse frames, import a frame, thumbnail size, small, medium, large. I'm going to go to import frames from strip. From here, I know tiles is the name of the file that I want, and I know tiles breaks up into 12 by 12 horizontal and vertical pictures. I'm going to check this checkbox to replace the entire animation. That way my empty frame number 0 is going to disappear. Okay? You mind, what's going on with your monitor? Tap it. Tap the side of your monitor. No, the monitor. All right, I'll bet you it's a loose. Cord will turn it off, put it back on. I invite you to auto save. Nice.
Give it a big tap.
No. That didn't work. Turn it off. All right. Restart your computer. Press 5 seconds. Yes. All right. So now take a look. I could resize this, and I can see I've got tons of extra frames in here. Press and hold for 15 seconds, T-Maya. All right, now press it to turn it back on. So all these things got sliced up in here. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning because there are some empty frames where there was nothing in there. So I'm going to delete them because I don't want to have empty frames in here that I may go to by accident. If it is like the corner of a bush or the corner of some leaves, that's okay. But the empty frames, you could just go ahead and select them and press the delete key, which is above the left arrow on the keyboard. So I'm just deleting the empty frames because we don't want them. And it ends up with that my last frame is frame number 131. So out of 144 images, we deleted 12 of them. 12 of them were just empty frames. My last number when I deleted all the empty ones was 131. Is that what you matched up to? Okay. So, before we actually look at these frames, one of the things we have to do is we got to stop the animation. Otherwise, when this is on our screen and we go and look at this, it's going to be playing through every single platform stage that you can see, and we don't want that. 131 frames at 5 frames a second, that's going to take, what, 12 seconds to get all the way to the end? No, 20 would be 100, 26 seconds to get to the end. So it's still playing, and then it's just going to stop at the last one. About 26 seconds. Give or take. Yeah, I rounded there in my head for that last frame. All right, so we don't want that to happen. Instead, what we want to do on this sprite, I'm going to rename it Tile. And then I'm going to open up the animation window by double-clicking on it and setting its frame speed to 0. We're never going to animate this one. We're always manually going to pick which frame we want. So 10:23, 10 minutes left. So if I zoom in on here and pan over and start placing things down, like this one I think is on initial frame 0. And the guide tells us we zeroed out the frame speed. Let's use frame number 1 for the first one. Then frame number 10 and frame number 13. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to hold Control and click and drag. And now I've got a copy of this one. On the copy, I'll change the frame to number 10, which is a good middle spot. And on this one, I'll click and drag and change the next one to frame number 13. So it's all right, but you can see if I run this level, you can see where the stage isn't stitching together perfectly, right? Therein lies the next feature we're going to turn on. This is probably the only one that you can't find on there because it's different from Construct 2 to Construct 3. They say turn on Snap to Grid on the above of the top menu. There is no menu up here for this. It's actually in the project properties bars over here. So here's the big difference. We need to turn on Snap to Grid. And for here, I think our frames are 128 by 128, which is divisible by 32. So with our grid size as 32 by 32, we can start snapping our platforms together, and they will stitch together very nicely. And then I can start selecting all of them, holding Control, and start to build multiple platforms for this level to progress through. So right there, very easily, I'm starting to build the beginning of the level.
Wait, how'd you snap it?
So Snap to Grid is not along the top. When you click in the gray space, Snap to Grid is over here on the left-hand property menu. I just turn on Snap to Grid, and I left the default grid size as 32 by 32. The grid is great for laying out the actual tiles of the level, because the tiles are all 128 by 128, and we should know that 128 divided by 32 is a nice even number. So in these grids, basically what you're seeing is there's a snap of 4 locations this could be in. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it's completely hidden. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's moving at 32 pixels at a time for that. So this is sized out perfectly for us to create a level. And I may even take all of these and just kind of move them back down here so we can get like a view of the background that's not just this part right here. And then when we actually have our player on the level, we'll make sure that our player is, the frame moves to the player, and then we'll always see where it's going. So see that you can create a couple of levels like this, something that you would be able to jump through. But there are lots of other options for building as you go through the different frames that are on here. So I could go and build another piece above this and say, hey, here's a stump over here, and change this one back to 13. So I could go through and get a variety of different frames out of this. I'm just kind of duplicating, and I'll go through and see what looks good. This is all the ground level stuff. Let's see if I can find like a tree that looks okay on here. There was a stump, more ground stuff. There's branches. There's the start of a tree. Is there one that's in the actual center of the tree? I don't know if there is. I think I may have to put 2 together to make the start of a tree. So yeah, I could put 2 of them together. If I did 62 and 63, I could change this one to 62, and then make another one of it, and change that one to 63, and then just kind of line these 2 pieces up. And so now I've got like the start of a tree for a level as I'm going through to build different things. So this was all about just building a level and having a piece on there. But what good is a level if you don't have a character on it? So what we'll do right now is we'll add our first player. So we'll double click anywhere in the background, add another sprite. Oh, and then before I add the other sprite, I have to go and browse to make sure I've got the player image downloaded. So I'll go to player. I'm going to go grab its idle image, but I'm going to add the idle image that is all of them together. This idle.png, not PL0001 or PL000. I want the entire strip. So this is the one that I'm going to right click and download. And now that I have it downloaded, I can right click inside here, import frames from sprite strip. There's my idle animation. And all I have to know from this is how many there are. But when it's just a single row of sprites, Construct does a really good job at guessing how many there actually have to be. So right now, it's telling me there are 11 horizontal cells and 1 vertical cell. I'm going to say, okay, cool. Now, if I preview this animation, it's kind of slow. You can kind of see he idles up and down. I'll turn the loop on for this animation and then just hit the preview. So you can see that this is actually moving through here, but that's still kind of slow for an idle animation. Do they give us a suggested frame speed to go to? Yeah, they suggest do 9 frames a second. So I'll up this frame speed to 9. Did I lose? Oh, wait, how do I do this? Somebody told me how to fix this before. I lost a window. I have to move it to another window. And then, oh, got it back. Okay. So I found out when Construct freezes, if I'm doing it in dual screen, if I move to another screen, I get it back. So animation 1, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this to idle. So if I rename the animation to idle and set it to 9 frames per second, that looks a little bit better. But there's still going to be an issue later. All these are a little bit different size, and there's a lot of extra space around the player. So all this extra space up here that we're not using, we want to get rid of. So to get rid of it, and this will be the last thing that I do for this stream, is we're going to crop each frame. So to crop it, if I just basically click on this, it'll crop it so that it tightens up on this frame. But now take a look at my animation. One frame should be... That was previewing the larger one. It's just going to be a little bit off. So rather than having to go through every frame and click this crop button, if you hold Shift and click, watch what's going to happen to all of these here. And it's going to look like they're getting bigger because we're getting rid of the empty space. So hold Shift, click that crop piece. Hold Shift and click the crop piece to apply to the whole frame. So now your whole animation should be a little bit bigger. And there's our player working. I will go and add 2 quick behaviors to the tile. Behavior I'm going to have as solid for the tiles. We may need to make a jump through version of the tiles later on. And for the sprite, I'm going to go ahead and add behavior platformer. And I'm going to add scroll 2. So the screen constantly has to follow this. So if I play and test here, my character should be right on the screen here. And he's falling through the ground. I wonder what we could fix starting tomorrow. So he's able to move on these, but there's something wrong with the player's actual hitbox. They're not including his feet. So we'll make a fix for this tomorrow, and I'm going to stop the stream here. Okay?
No.
All right. So